Hi everyone, hope you're all doing great. It's me again, your go-to personal and business finance coach. And it's another Tuesday, so it means it's time for my Financial Tip Tuesday. But before I get into the tips I have for you today, I wanted to take a moment to reflect on what's been going on the last few days as it relates to people losing their loved ones. And all the stories that I've heard seem to be sudden or unexpected. In the midst of our sorrow and grief, I just wanted to say that it's important that we also take a moment to reflect and show gratitude for the things that we do have. And for those of us that are alive, excuse me, we ought to be grateful that we're still here. We ought to be grateful that we have our loved ones that we can hug and talk to. We ought to be grateful that we don't live in societies where if we leave our homes in the morning, we're not sure if we're going to make it back because of the color of our skin. We ought to be grateful that we don't live in societies where they experience earthquakes or hurricanes or tornadoes or floods. We ought to be grateful that we can use our hands, our legs, we can see, we can talk, that we can, speak, that we can sit down. Some of these things are things that we don't think about, okay? But they're things that if you look around you, there are enough things that you can count and be grateful for. All right. With that being said, it's time to get into our financial tips. So last week we talked about why it's important to have a budget and create a budget. And I'm going to sort of build off of that and talk about some of the things that have been going on around the world as it relates to the recession and how a lot more people are finding themselves in debt, either because they've lost their jobs or they weren't expecting to be in a situation like this. And so they've made some commitments that, they can no longer fulfill financially. So there are ways to get out of debt. And today I'm going to be sharing my 5 tips, okay, that you can employ, strategies, whatever you want to call them, that you can apply if you find that you're in a debt crisis. The first thing is, if you've already created a budget, it means that that budget is no longer serving its purpose. So what you need to do is to recreate your budget, okay? You have to recreate your budget to a bare bones budget, okay? So that means that you're looking at your current situation, reassessing the current situation, and coming up a budget that helps you to pay down that debt is very important. So if you haven't created a budget, you have to still create one, okay, in order to pay down your debt. That allows you to hold yourself accountable, in essence, okay? And if you already have a budget, you have to recreate your budget to bare bones, okay? So that's the first tip. The second tip is that rather than paying the minimum payment that is required on whatever debt you owe, pay a little bit higher now, okay? Pay higher than so that you can start to get rid of that debt, okay? So start paying higher than the minimum payment required. So for instance, if you owe a debt of, let's say, 10,000 and the required monthly payment is, let's say, 100, okay? You need to pay more than 100 so that you can get rid of that debt quickly, okay? The third thing is call your creditors, okay, and try to renegotiate the interest payment on your debt. you'll be surprised. Creditors are willing to listen, especially right now, because what's going on right now is universal, it's global. Okay, so call all your creditors and ask them to help lower your interest. That way, you don't have that burden, okay, anymore that you had prior. So call your creditors. Creditors are willing to renegotiate at this time, and they'll rather you pay something than nothing, okay? Creditors don't like defaults because it's not good for their books. So call your creditors and renegotiate your interest. The fourth thing I would say is, if you can, get a part-time job, get a side hustle, whatever you want to call it, okay? Something that can earn you extra money. Freelance if you have to, but do something that will earn you extra money so that you have more. That's if you currently have a job, but for whatever reason you're not able to fulfill your financial obligations. And get a side hustle. And if you've lost your job, still see if you can find a part-time job or freelance. Or if you're talented in something, see if you can use that talent and turn it into something profitable. Okay. The fifth thing I'm going to talk about is, and this is probably the most important thing, because everything starts with behavior and action, is stop overextending yourself. The reason you got into debt in the first place is that you probably lost track, and you weren't expecting things to turn out the way they've turned out. And so you probably overextended yourself. So do not overextend yourself. What that simply means is that you have to be disciplined. Stop using those credit cards, okay? And all of these 5 tips that I shared with you should allow you, if you stick to it, okay, should allow you to pay off your debt and get out of a debt crisis. So that's all I have for you today. Until next time, enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.